No,
I didn't introduce you.
that's all right, I'll introduce myself.
Okay, because we met at the county fair.
My name is Mark Jewell, and I met two of these couple of ladies at the Kansas County Fair and talked to them extensively about transportation. And I met you, I can't remember your name.
Dawn.
Dawn, yeah, not Dawn, it's one of the many Dawns. Anyway, I met her before, and the reason I wanted to bring this meeting together, I'll start with my own story because there's no violation of privacy. I can talk about myself endlessly, and I probably will. But my situation is that I have a medical condition called I can't even remember. Anyway, it's a condition, macular degeneration, that's what it is. And there's two forms of it. One of them is right down the center of your vision, you're blind there. It could be big, it could be small, or it could be the other way. It could be from the outside in, you can see straight ahead, tunnel vision, but you can't see very good off to the side. So mine is the central vision type. My eyes are actually 20/20, except at night when I'm virtually blind. And also when I get my injections to slow down the macular degeneration. And after that, for about a half a day, I can't see. It's like I'm looking through two jellyfish. I can see light, I can see shapes, but I can't really walk across the street because I can't see across the street. So my situation is, in order to go to St. Cloud to get my treatment, which is the closest place for me in Ogilvie, I would have to drive there, park someplace in a fairly remote location, take a bus or stay in a motel overnight. Because if I get a late appointment, which I did this month, I already had it on Tuesday. It was the 2:30 appointment. Well, in the wintertime, if I have a 2:30 appointment, it's gonna be dark when I get through that. Because it takes all together, the waiting time and everything else, it's roughly 2 hours. So my appointment was done shortly before 4:30 on Tuesday. So this being still summertime, I could drive, but my vision wasn't good enough. Fortunately, in talking about this, as I have for several weeks, I met somebody at the Wellia during the diabetic education thing this once a month. He spontaneously volunteered to take me, which he did. So I lucked out then. But in the past, before it got to be where I had to have both eyes done, I would still have one eye I could drive with. It's okay to drive with one eye. So that's what I did. Then when it started to get worse, and I knew I would be getting double injections, I talked to people who I had over the years, my neighbors and friends, who had taken me there, and they'd been very generous about it. But one by one, they stopped doing it for various reasons, and I don't question their reasons. I mean, it's a boring day. You're gonna go and sit in the waiting room or in your car. So anyway, they wouldn't or couldn't do it anymore. So I figured, I gotta start something up to get people like me to get to their medical treatment. Because it'd be a terrible thing if you can get your medical treatment, either you have health insurance or medical assistance or some variation on that, but you can't get there to go get the treatment. So it's like a catch-22, the famous catch-22. So as I've talked to people, I found at least a handful of people every week who are in a similar situation or about. Now, the very first person I met, I told this to, was a guy over at Anytime Fitness. And he was a gentleman in his early 80s. I've known him for a long time. I won't tell you his name. He told me, I take my mother, who's almost 100. And he told me, I'm in my early 80s. I won't tell you where the end of it. Anyway, he said, what's she gonna do when I'm not here? I know that men don't live as long as women, and my health isn't all that good. What's she gonna do? My kids and grandkids have no interest, or they're not able to. If they have a job, they can't be taking time off from their work. They won't have that job. Or they have some other reason. They might have big childcare issues. There's lots of good reasons why, legitimately, other than something just being selfish, that they can't do it. So in talking to people, some people, I told you earlier, they carry around a big bucket of cold water. If you have an idea, they are ready to throw that on your idea. put that idea out. And one of them was what I call one of the myths and wishful thinking, transportation. They saw my little lanyard, which just says US Navy. I'm a fan, I wasn't in the Navy. I'm not Viking either, but I carry a Viking thing around sometimes. But anyway, I said, I'm not a veteran, and what do you do if you're not a veteran? Are you just on your own? I think that you are. And then I said, there's also this mythology. I used to work for the VA, and I worked in the benefits office. And if you are service connected, and you belong to the DAV or the VFW or one of the other service organizations, there's a belief that they will take you through your medical appointments. They will, if you're treated at the VA facility or a contract facility. Other than that, you're just like me. You're just another idiot who can't get transportation. So that's the end of that myth or wishful thinking. Also, people thought, why can't you just like drive to the library in St. Cloud and then park there and then walk over to where you get your treatment? Well, I checked the Google map. It's 2.8 miles from the library to the clinic I go. So altogether, round off, it's about 6 miles going and coming. I'm not exactly a young spring chicken. And I'm lucky to do 3 blocks, let alone 3 miles. And I use a cane much of the time. And I thought, what happens in the winter time when they have the drifts at the intersections? And I can't even see the drift. It all blends together. I'll drown in that drift or slip and fall and get run over. The other thing is I checked into, when I went to the St. Cloud Transit Center there, and I talked to them about the situation. I said, I need some schedules and so forth, just in case. I would not mind driving to the library, getting on a bus, riding a bus with 2 or 3 buses, get where I go, and the same thing coming back. The buses are heated. And I thought, well, that would be fine. Well, they don't run practically around the clock, you know, every 10 minutes like they do in the Twin Cities. You might have a wait. And if you missed your bus, you might have a really long wait. So they said, why don't you use dial? And I said, okay, I'm gonna check that, tell me about it. So they told me about dial if you're disabled. So I got an application from it, and I looked it over, and I thought, on there, they have a disclaimer that they may not approve it just because you applied for it. And I explained in detail where, but they still might say, no, you can wait in the cold, you can get on the bus, which if I had to, that's what I would do. But not everybody can do that. You might be in a wheelchair, you might be in a walker, you might be in canes or crutches. There's all kinds of various disabilities. And then what if you're not disabled? What if you just need to get there and the bus would be okay? What, big heavy coat, hat, gloves, boots? I mean, it can be done. People have done worse. People have survived in Siberia. But why make it harder for people to get their treatment? And then I thought of another one. Nobody brought this up, but I thought of back when I was a kid, we didn't have a car. I lived in Southern California, and there was lots of public transportation. It wasn't every 10 minutes. It was there. And a lot of times people took their children with them to their appointments because they had no one to take care of their children. They either go or they leave them at home to get into mischief and set the house on fire on each other. So a lot of times they have to take their kids with them. And I thought the best thing is just have a volunteer ride sharing program. And if I'm asking for someone to volunteer to drive me, I should be willing to drive them, and I am. And I thought, well, when you promote this, you have to say, if you want to go to your medical appointment, I'll take you there, I'll wait for you several hours. I can't do it overnight, but I can do it for several hours and bring you back. If you have somebody who needs, you need a support person. A lot of times, if you're my age or close to it, your memory isn't that good and your understanding isn't that good. You need somebody who can be your advocate when you're in that medical examination room. So bring them along, I'll take them too. I have an all-wheel drive car, which I would use for this purpose. It's plenty of room. It's a Jeep. Grand something or another. It's a Grand Cherokee. Plenty of room in it. It could carry 4 normal-sized people or 3 really big people, like I used to be. But anyway, I think we could handle it. Now, it's not necessarily limited to taking one person, but might be able to take two people. If they're both on the same cloud at different locations, take them both. Take the support people with them. I mean, all of these details could be worked out. That's why I mentioned the great big bucket of cold water. People could bring up things I hadn't thought of, but why not address them? So then I remembered my mind being really good at things from long ago, 50, 60 years was ideal. I remember when I was a young punk living in a bad neighborhood, looking to get in trouble and usually finding it. The local Catholic church had a nice parking lot with good surface, and they decided, on the instigation of one of the nuns, Sister Celestine, put up some basketball hoops and take all these thugs in training and let them play basketball for several hours a day. That was neat. But she would enforce the one rule that she had: no elbows. And we only knew how to play jungle ball, so we soon learned that's not a legitimate way to play basketball, and she could enforce it. She was tough. But she had a couple of sayings, and I can remember two of them. I'm not remembering them exactly word for word. But she used to say something like, the difficulty of the task is no excuse for not trying. And she used this for a lot of things, and I think it could apply to this project. One of the other ones that she said, when it came specifically to something like this, she said, just because you can't help everyone doesn't excuse you from helping those you can. So if I find one person who needs a ride and wouldn't be able to get their medical treatment otherwise, I'm your guy. Now, there might be, as time goes on, other guys. And it might also be that some people can't give me a ride for the ride that I'm giving them. That's fine. That's fine. We still get help. One of the other things that someone brought up, and I know it applied to them, and it's often applied to me, is you might have a car, you might be able to drive, but it's not good for anything other than around town. It'll break down, and my cars used to regularly do that. Well, that's not a good thing to happen in the wintertime or anytime, really. So you need somebody with at least reliable transportation. Mine is reliable. I keep it reliable. So I think there'll be lots of things. In fact, when I was over at Bakes and Pines, somebody there mentioned, you know, sometimes people get stuff from the food shelf and they get a lot of food. They can't carry it. How do they get it home? They got the food, how do they get it home? Get you, I'll take you home, that's close by. That would be like 5 trips to St. Cloud. The other thing is, and I remembered one specific thing many years ago before COVID, I used to work for Volunteers of America in Milan. And one Christmas season, the manager said, we've got a woman who's all of she lives out in the country, she has no transportation. Right? The food shelf is giving away a basket of groceries, and she's got a large family. She can't get there, she can't carry the food back when she gets it. Will you go do it? That's one of the best experiences of my life. I really enjoyed it. It's not that she was a scintillating conversationalist, but she was a real human being. She was nothing phony about her. So it was worth the trip just to meet her. So I think things like that it could be expanded to. And as I've talked to people said, well, you know, I'm going to get a job. I can't get a job here. There's nothing I can do that they hire you for here. And even if I got it, they're really annoyed just to pay the minimum wage. And if you can get out of this county, the immediate area, you could probably get a few dollars more an hour than you can get here. And that would make a big difference for a family. Now, that won't help if it's in Cambridge and you got to spend $50 a week on gasoline to get there. It's no help at all. But what if the ride is free? What if we set up some kind of a system where you say, I have a job in Cambridge, Monday through Friday, I have to be there at 8 o'clock and I leave at 4:30. Why not set up a system where, like Jefferson's bus lines, where do you have to go? When do you have to be there? When do you have to come back? We set up some kind of a system for that. Now, I use Driver's Alliance because I think it's a really good system. So if you have a date, your place, your time, then you just have to match people up. And it could be, if you're a driver, go to the site. I'm not gonna be working Thursday. I can drive somebody wherever they wanna go, something like that. There may be people with the willingness to do it, the capability of doing it. Why not? So that was kind of the end of it. Now, a lot of other things have been mentioned to me. I think one of the things that we can work with, and I like the idea of the hub, transportation hub. I don't know what the details of it will be, and I don't know when it will be. But the thing is, it might be that you have to use a hybrid system. Maybe you could get a bus, get to Foley, and when you get to Foley, somebody who lives close to Foley can pick you up and take that last couple of miles. Or the other way around. Do you live way out in the boondocks, but they can get you to Ogilvie? I can take you from Ogilvie. So there's lots of variations on this that could be worked out and probably would have to be. So that was my idea. I think you guys have really, at East Central, have really taken the ball. I'm glad that you did because you're better at it than me. So I'm asking people who watch, if you're interested in forming an adjunct or interim committee, so to speak, until the real permanent thing gets going, where we have a hub and we have dedicated drivers, people who know what the heck they're doing. If you're interested in helping out really soon, contact me and I'll give you my email address and I've given it to you ladies here. This will be 3 words, but they all run together. Mark Jewell, and Jewell is with 2 L's. Mysteries, Mark Jewell Mysteries at gmail.com. And you could email me that and say, I'm interested, I need a ride, or I can get a ride, or I just want to have more information. I want to help out in forming some kind of committee to get things going for the immediate future. Because I'm figuring it might take several months for anything to get set up. Why not do something right away? If somebody's watching this and they need a ride tomorrow, contact me. I don't have email at home, but I go to the library just about every day. I'll check my email, and if you've sent me an email with your contact information, I will get back to you and see what do you need. And if I can possibly do it, I'll do it. All it's going to cost me is my gas. And I'm not going to ask for a dime, because there's a problem when if you ask for money. My insurance guy told me, if you take a dime or a piece of pie or a cup of coffee, you have received reimbursement or compensation. And if there's an accident, you can be sued for everything you have or everything you will have, and they will. If they don't, their heirs or that shyster lawyer brother-in-law second removed will. Because if there's money to be had, there's likely to be somebody to try to get it. So that's why I have to do it free. It'll be just like you're my next door neighbor and I'm giving you a ride to the grocery store. So we'll be free. There won't be anything, blink, oh, give me the gas money. None of that. Be free, completely free. All I'm gonna ask you to do is make sure you have proof of your residency, because I have to cover myself up too. There's mischief out there. I don't want someone to hit me over the head and kill me and eat me. So I'm going to, if you contact me, I'm going to say, let me see a utility receipt showing where you live, your address, street address. I'm going to take a picture of it on my cell phone. And if you have any kind of photo ID, I'm going to take a picture of that. And I'm going to email that to a friend of mine. And if they haven't seen me for 3 or 4 days, they're going to call the sheriff's department. They're going to run you down like a dog. So I'm trying to think of everything that could go wrong or might help you out. But I think the main thing is I want to get it going. I don't want you to wait around. What if you have chemotherapy tomorrow? And the person who's going to give you a ride can't give you a ride and it's in blame. Tamara Trails is one vision. Nobody else looked at you. You have a question?
I was just wondering what, the Southern County Senior Federation, what kind of feedback they gave you.
They're all in for it. They put my original letter, similar to what I have distributed here, in their publication called Echoes. And it was in there for, I think it's the July, August edition. So they only come out every
You
2 months.
didn't get any calls from anyone.
They've had people inquire about it, but we haven't set up a clearinghouse for this yet. And I don't know if I want to appoint them to be the clearinghouse without their permission. Now, they might be perfectly willing to do it. And
But
they,
maybe we just start with having a little meeting with those folks that are interested.
Yeah.
Because they're all connected, so if you've got 3 drivers that are gonna drive Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday,
well,
who needs rides, and you just kind of start small and then.
I think I would start very small.
Well,
It might just be me to start.
they have their board meetings, there every month or every other month. We've actually gone to one of them and we spoke about RTCC. But they often are very welcoming to having a speaker come and talk to the board.
Well, in fact, I'll stop by. I've spoken to Lisa before. She's all in favor of it.
But that's not getting the word out to the actual members.
That's true.
If they have had inquiries from members,
But
those
she-
are the people that we need to get in the
I
room.
saw her last week, and she said that she had put my letter in her monthly mailing or emailing, or whatever it is. I'm not yet a member of the Senior Federation, so I don't know what that looks like.
I am.
But I will be. I will be. But anyway, I am interested in helping those who help me. It's like the old saying, the enemy of my friend is my friend. Well, the friend of my friend is my friend. If you're helping me, I'm certainly going to help you. So, any other questions? We could probably go on repeating the same thing over and over. But what I'm really hoping is for anybody who's seeing this, spread the word, talk to people and say, contact Senior Federation and they'll contact me. They have my number, they have my email, contact you guys. But I don't want to appoint somebody to be answering the phone, 5 days a week, 8 hours a day when they have other things to do. So they can contact me directly. One of the things I thought about is when people hear about this, they don't know. They don't know if I'm the one who's gonna get their loved one in the car, kill them and eat them. Things happen. So in my case, I'm gonna pay for my own background check. I'm confident. I'm confident that I have evaded detection long enough that I can pass it. But anybody who wants to do this, I think it would be a good idea. For anybody who wants to do any driving, to pay for their own background check, they're gonna pay for their own gas. They're good for a year, but check the library, they have the background check for people who work at the book sales. And the library pays for that, and they told me it was $35 through the FBI. I guess you get fingerprinted too. Well, that's a good idea. So that would remove one of the barriers for people fearing to get in the car with me or anybody else. The other thing is, maybe you could have we could have an option once there's a number of people. I just want a female driver, or I just want a male driver, or I want both. Why not? If you have enough people, why not satisfy people's needs and worries? Because let's face it, there's lots of legitimate worries out there. Why shouldn't we address it? If something is brought up that I haven't thought of, why shouldn't we address it? Why let something become a barrier because we don't know right at the moment how to deal with it? If we have a number of people who work on this committee to set this thing up between us, between you folks here and the people watching, we could probably address it. Or if we can't help everyone, we're still going to help those we can. Well, that's all I have.